All right, time for the sleepers video for the Open Championship. I got two plays. Both of them I think are, I wanted to find guys who are going to be low owned, who had some upside, and that are in this range that I think there's going to be a lot of popular players around them. And therefore, these guys will not get picked up. They won't get the ownership, but they have some serious upside, especially my ladder play. I'm going to start with a guy in the 6K range at 6,900. Here's who is early. Now, I'm recording this on Monday around 4 p.m. The early love around this player is going to guys like, let's see, Jordan Smith, Robert McIntyre, for good reason, right? In the 6K range, those two guys, along with maybe JT Poston, Matthew Jordan, the member at Renaissance, is getting a lot of love. Those four players, again, for decent reason, especially I think Jordan Smith, Robert McIntyre, and JT, all getting plenty of love. And I think as a result, there's a player in here who is playing probably arguably some of the best golf of his career this season on the DP World Tour. Nobody really knows a lot about him, but it's Romain Langasque. I do think he's a favorite of Pat Mayo, our friend over at Mayo Media Network, over the years in Euro Tour, contests. But I don't think he's going to get hardly any attention here around these guys. We're talking 1%, 2% owned. And I think he honestly does fit the course nicely, especially with what we know about conditions of the course. If you haven't watched our betting preview where we talked to Patrick Reed's caddy and brother-in-law Kessler Kerrane while just walking off the golf course, he was telling us about some of the conditions, and I think it helps Romain Langasque. Go 6,900, around 1 to 2% owned. I think your upside is probably a top 30 finish. He's plus 290 on FanDuel for a top 40. I'm kind of interested in that. But here's kind of the profile that you get with him. You get a guy who is 28th off the tee in strokes gained off the tee metrics on the DP World Tour this season and 20th in distance. You get a guy who's 40th in strokes gained approach, 14th in overall strokes gained tee to green, 23rd in strokes gained around the green. So he's got some short game, he's got some ball striking, and the putter is actually not terrible. I mean, we're not talking about like Luke List bad. We're like in the it's spotty. Okay, it's spotty. He's got a decent links track record. It's not extensive, but it's solid. 25th at last week's Genesis Scottish Open, third at the Scottish Open in 2019 at Renaissance, which I know we could argue is really not all that linksy, but I don't know that this is going to play that linksy other than the terrain because we're not going to get any wind. We're not looking to get any conditions. Eighth, just a couple of weeks ago at the British Betfred Masters, finished 54th at the U.S. Open at LA Country Club just a couple of weeks ago. T10 at the Porsche Europe Open. And so, the open record isn't extensive or great by any means, but I think we're looking at a player who is playing at a different level. So Romain Langasque, 6,900. Yeah, I gave you Grant Forrest last week. He finished 11th. So maybe if I'm trying to educate too with this video. I mean, yes, there's probably another option around here that might be a better pedigree of a player, but also trying to help educate you guys on some names in here that you may not see every single week. So if you want to, if before I get to the next play, if you want to get educated on where to find some of the best bets from some of the best handicappers in the streets, our friends at SoBet got you covered, and they now have the free trial for 1 month. If you click the link in the description and use code TJ Trial, you can get a free 1 month subscription to SoBet. Check out all the handicappers over there. If you use code TJ, you get it for $9.95 a month or $39 for 6 months, which will take you into football season, all your favorite football bets, college and NFL, all the best handicappers over there on SoBet, giving exclusive content to that community. And it's way better than like tailing handicappers on Twitter and not really knowing who's who and who's good at anything. So full transparency on the platform at SoBet with units, with logic behind the picks, and transparency even when you lose. So check out the description below, click the link, and check out our friends at SoBet. All right, final play this week. We kind of mentioned him on the show, and this is not a player who's going to go completely unknown. You're going to know who he is. But I just still early in the projections, looking around on some early site projections, he's still getting hardly any love, projected around 3%, maybe 4% in some sites. But I think he's gonna fall in this range that's not getting a lot of attention because of lineup construction. And then the attention that is being drawn to some of these players is only going to go to a handful of players around him. I'm talking about players like, maybe Justin Rose is still enticing to some people. Minwoo Lee, I could see getting some love. Brian Harmon, these guys, Brian Harmon's been crushing the Open Championship of years. So this guy's kind of in the middle of all that at 7,500. Talking about Joaquin Niemann, and we know who Joaquin Niemann is. If we've been betting or playing DFS for a few years, we know kind of the player that he is. Listen, when he was doing his thing on the PGA Tour and winning, he was long off the tee. He was underrated around the greens, I think. And he had really solid approach play and a lot of times would have peak approach numbers. He gained a lot more strokes on average or difficult golf courses than easy ones. And I think we're going to get a difficult course here at Royal Liverpool. Um, but let's talk about kind of the major championship track record for Joaquin Niemann as well. He's made 2 of 3 cuts in Open championships, and the 2 cuts, nothing to really write home about. He's made 4 of 5 cuts in U.S. Opens. T32 in June, by the way, at LACC. He's made 3 of 4 cuts at the Masters, including a T16, his best finish yet this past April. And he's made 3 of 6 cuts at the PGA. So he's made 12 of 18 cuts in major championship experiences. And, you know, the form going into Augusta this year and the form going into the U.S. Open, if you looked at his live form, wasn't fantastic. I mean, it really actually wasn't very good. His best form was going into the PGA when he missed the cut. So I don't know that we can necessarily look to that form. Now, he did just finish T10 at Valderrama, which played as the second toughest golf course on Liv's rotation so far this season. And he so to play at a tougher course, finished T10. I think he shot 69 all 3 days. And then he had a T21 in London just a couple of weeks ago. So I do think Joaquin Niemann at 7,500 is not going to get a lot of love. I like the top 20 upside. He's plus 270 to finish top 20, best numbers on FanDuel. And listen, I think Joaquin Niemann is seriously a guy who has enough experience and enough tools in the kit to actually win, much less a top 20. And he could go completely overlooked. The pedigree is there for Joaquin Niemann. Sure, maybe some things have dropped off since Live, but I believe in the pedigree of Joaquin Niemann, and I also believe he's not going to get any love where he is. So that there's a couple of names who I think are going to get pushed out because of popular names around them that do have some upside, do kind of fit the bill of what I think is going to be asked of you at Royal Liverpool. And there's a couple sleepers for 2023's Open Championship. Hope you enjoy the week. May your screens be green. See you.